Okay, well, welcome everybody. We are so excited to be here with you all today and share a bit about the lived experience Grove. Thank you for coming to our webinar and hope that this information today will excite you in all the various lived experience partnerships that you have underway or opportunities to learn more. So we are going to get rolling here. Before we begin, we want to let you know that we are recording today's session. We are going to share the recording for today as well afterwards, so everybody that attends will receive this, and we hope to post it as well. If you have any questions that come up through the webinar today, feel free to use the Q&A feature, or you can also drop it in the chat as well. We will try to answer them as soon as possible. And anything that we don't get to, we'll send as a follow-up as well. But thank you for being here. For today's webinar, we have 3 of the 5 Housing Justice Collective members that will be presenting this information to you. Riviana Hyatt is here. I am Nikki Paul, and Sarah Hunter will be sharing some information briefly. But I know that we know many folks that might be hopping in today, but for those of you that we have not had a chance to meet, either virtually in person, we are excited to meet with you. We have 2 other Housing Justice Collective members that won't be facilitating on this call today, but that are part of our team. So excited to share a little bit more about that in just a moment. But before we do, would love if folks could just take a moment and in the chat feature so people can know who else is on this webinar today. If you can introduce yourself with your name and pronouns, any organizational affiliation you might have, and where you're zooming in from. Would love to know kind of who's repping on the call.
Yeah.
Also, if you can add any insights into any lived experience partnerships that you're part of. So if you're part of an action board or an organization, welcome you to share that information as well. I'm going to pass this over to Sarah Hunter, who's going to give you a bit of overview on the purpose and the impact of the lived experience growth.
So, welcome everyone. A couple of years ago, we were talking with some partners and realized that there were a lot of materials out there to support starting a lived experience partnership like a youth action board or a YAB or other advisory boards, but that there wasn't much that helped fill the space in between, like what it takes to make these partnerships work, how they're sometimes tough to navigate, sometimes they're rewarding, and sometimes it's incredibly difficult, but sometimes they're incredibly effective at making systems change. So we pulled together a group that represented partnerships from several parts of the country to try to not only capture that essence, but make some tools to support us where we get stuck or where we can use some extra thinking or help. And we wanted it to be accessible in an interactive way online and a year-long learning community to co-design and do some web development later. The Lived Experience Grove was born. So that's what we're introducing you to today. We're delighted to introduce it to you, and we hope that you'll learn how to navigate the site, then go back and use the tools in your own community or the communities you're connected with, either on your own with support from us, the creators, or the communities, or whatever you need. And ultimately, we hope it'll be a space where you connect with one another. The bones are there for that connection now, and we hope to actually develop that out more and have more connectivity with that part in the future. And we'll get to that in a second. Okay, Nikki, next slide, please. The Housing Justice Collective partnered with Tanisha Travis and invited communities in to explore with us what makes transformation possible. We wanted to offer a process that could help us describe and create content that illustrates what it takes for communities to come together to dismantle systems rooted in structural racism and build new approaches that center those who have been historically marginalized. We centered on 4 key values: building authentic relationships, true shared power, community wisdom, and collaborative solutions. To figure out what we wanted to put in this site, we gathered members of boards and community action groups across Minnesota, Los Angeles, New York City, and Omaha to figure out with them what the essential ingredients are for lived experience partnerships to really thrive and to make the kind of change that everyone is hoping for. We met twice a month, both in individual community sessions and together as a big cohort. We wrestled with topics like cultural shifts that are needed, conflict, vision setting, and we made big statements about things like compensation practices by learning about the ins and outs of how these things have come up for these communities. And every time you see this flower on a resource or tool, we hope it reminds you how much people power went into creating these tools. People who represent lived experience groups, continuums of care, county and city agencies, lived experience coordinator roles, and more. Oh, and I want to mention that this effort was made possible by support from the Hilton Foundation, the Polad Family Foundation, and the New York City Fund to End Youth and Family Homelessness. Next slide, Nikki. Okay, we've rolled this out in small introductions so far in a couple of different places. We saw some of you at the conference in San Diego a few months ago, and we've heard some things that might help you too, so we wanted to share them. One consultant explored the trauma-informed facilitation tool. As a secret, there's a shortcut. It lives in the culture shifts that lead to equity part of the library, which we'll get to in a bit. And that person expressed how much that tool resonated and gave a way to check in with themselves about how trauma informed their own facilitation style was. Another lived experience coordinator expressed the welcoming feeling of the Grove. We hope that you feel that way too, but if you don't, let us know. We definitely want to hear from you. And a TA provider supporting youth work took some of the tools from the Grove and used them actually to help support a community youth action board or YAB while they were trying to move along a spectrum from being present to actually being powerful inside of decision making, which is something a lot of communities face. So we're glad to hear that they were using that successfully. And once you dig in, we'll want to hear from you as well. So tell us what you love or what could be improved. We'll take both. And we'll give you a survey link at the end of this webinar today to do so. All right, next slide, Nikki. Okay, we're gonna jump in. Nikki's gonna stop sharing her screen and I'm gonna start sharing my screen. All right, so we're gonna jump into the homepage. You can see we're beginning with an invitation to explore the lived experience Grove. Everything that you want to access within this site, you can get to through this first opening page, and you essentially can scroll through this homepage and get anywhere you need to go in the site. We'll go into more detail on that in a second, but I want to first give you an overall sense of how the website is organized. At the top of the website, you can always click these words here, this lived experience Grove. When you click on that, it'll take you back to this homepage. So wherever you are in the site, you find lived experience Grove, it'll take you back to this page. When you scroll down on this page, oh, it disappears, but you scroll back up and here it is again. So you can always click there to get back to where you want to go. All right, let's talk a little bit about the accessibility widget that we have. We wanted to make sure that folks of all accessibility needs could access the site. It's a little person in a chair. You click on it, it pops up this accessibility widget. And I want to show you this because it helps really navigate the site. You can adjust things like your text size. I'll do a little bit of this here. You can see what happens when you adjust text size if you need different text size. You can do grayscale if colors are a thing for your own vision. You can do contrast to really like sort of shifts things up for you. You can zoom in on the page and things like that. You can go through with some reading support. So if you need like a more dyslexia-friendly font, things like that, you can shift your line spacing. You can shift your word spacing, all of the things that might help you in being able to absorb the content of the site, the reading of it. And then if you want to navigate, there are things you can do, like you can highlight every single thing that's a link on the page so you can see more clearly what you can actually click on to link. And this works both on a computer and on a phone, so you can see all of that. And if you want to get out of any of the accessibility changes you made, you just click on this little reverse here and it'll go back to where it started. And then you can close the X here to get minimize the accessibility feature. We thought that was really important for the site. So if you need to use it, please do. Okay. The overview of this site is pretty simple. It can be, the site itself can be thought of in three main sections. Information about the contributors or who helped make this site possible, how to connect with each other and one another in the Gathering Orchard, and the learning opportunities available to you and your community. Those are the three different types of content here. I'm going to briefly walk us through the contributors and the gathering orchard, and then I'm going to hand it to Riviana to explore the learning opportunities with you. All right, so as we've talked about, this site is a result of many conversations with our learning community partners. Um, I want to first sort of direct you to the About Us page here. You can see at the top of the screen, that's how you can get to figure out both what were the sort of values that we brought into the site, but also who was contributing to it. You know, I talked about the Housing Justice Collective before in Tunisia. We worked together to help create some of the background and lead some of the learning community sessions here. We're missing Josephine and Kevin today, but they're a great part of our team. And then you can see also both the communities that supported and the funders that helped support. And then our web development team was creative devs, and they did a great job supporting us with that. And then I'm going to go back to the main page just to show it to you that you can go back there. And I told you a little bit about the four communities and their members a few minutes ago, but I want to show you how you can learn about more about who they are, who all the folks were that contribute to the site. There are two different ways to navigate to these community partners. You can find the four communities here, up here, or you can swing down here on the homepage and check out any of the four communities. We're just going to click into Omaha really quick. And you can see the six members of the Omaha team that helped contribute to the site. And you can also see the communities that they're a part of, the boards and organizations that they're a part of. You can read about these organizations. You can click on the websites. That's true of all four communities, but I'm just showing you this Omaha example. And then if you want to know more about each of the individual contributors, you can click on their pages and you can read more about who they are, how they come into this work. And then in some of the pages, you can even see a little treat like this video with Rachel, where she's talking about what has brought her here. So we'll go back to the main page. Click here. And now I want to introduce you to the Gathering Orchard, where we go to connect. You can also get there a few different ways from the homepage. You can get there using this connect button here at the top, always at the top, no matter where you are. You can also get there by clicking on this connect with others button. We're going to do that right now and take us to the Gathering Orchard. So this is the place where we want you all to both offer your own really amazing things that are going on and happening, but also to be able to connect with one another. So there's three different ways that we've designed inside the site to do that. The first is to share tools and resources. Once you click on that, you can submit some resources to us if you want to share these with other communities. If you've got great resources, this is a form you can submit, and it'll document what you write down here and send it to us, and then we'll start a conversation with you about what those resources are, and then figure out how to get them up on the site if they make sense. You can go back. I'm just going to click on the connect with others. That's another way to go back here. Another thing you can do is share your own events and trainings so that folks can know either online or in-person things that are happening that you're hosting that you want other people to be a part of. We'd love to be able to sort of put them in the site here and have you interact with each other in this way, know about the events that you're doing, allow each other to participate in those and be able to have this be like a place where folks can go and see what's going on. There are no events and trainings in it yet because we're just kicking off here, but we'd love for you all to submit some of those things. And then the last piece is this build out your network piece, which is about sort of connecting with one another. And we've got four examples of community circles here, which are four Minnesota examples that we have been connecting with. And there's ways to get in touch with the people who are part of those communities. But you can also add your own network here, or you're as an individual, or as a advisory team, or an action board, or whatever kind of lived experience partnership you have. We'd love to hear what you have going on. We'd love for you to submit here if you want folks to be able to interact with you. Right now, this isn't super interactive, but we're hoping to be able to build this out with more interactivity in the future. And so I'll go back just one more time here and say, like with each of these three options for connection, once you submit the form to us, we'll review it and initiate a conversation with you about what you want posted to the site, those kinds of things. And then we'll get back to you and then we'll figure out how to do that. We would love to see this grow and grow and grow for you all to be in community with one another as well as with us. All right, great. So we have reviewed both the contributors and the gathering orchard. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it over to Riviana, who's going to go deeper into the learning opportunities.
You're muted. Great. Hi. You all can see my screen okay? Um, some of the best people in the world on this webinar. All I have to say, hello to all of you. I'll also say that, I don't know if you've ever like had anybody explain to you the rules of Monopoly and like halfway through, you're like, I don't know. Just like, let's start playing the game, right? You might be feeling that way right now. Sometimes I feel that way, but we really tried to make this website be, there's a lot of different options of how you can engage with it. So today we're just walking you through some of the ways that you can get into all of the good stuff on this website. So that's my encouragement for everyone to stay with us as we like talk through all of the different things. So like I said, there are a bunch of different ways you can explore this website and learn on your own about all of the concepts that the learning community came up with. One of the main ways is to navigate is to select a learning journey, what we're calling a learning journey that is tailored to a handful of common roles that we see in lived experience partnerships. So here we are on the homepage of the Lived Experience Grove. There's a couple of ways you could get to the learning journey. You could do this blue button on the top right that says Get Started, or this big purple one that says Start My Learning Journey. You can also save your resources by creating an account using your email address. So if you create an account that allows you to go at your own pace through all of these resources, it saves all your efforts so you could leave it and come back to it. Creating an account also allows you to see your progress as you go. That's a feature that I really appreciate to visually be able to see where I am in a process. You also you never have to sign in if you don't want to either. If you don't want to be bothered with that, that's cool too. You can just click around and you can still explore everything and have access to everything. So let's see. So let's go to Start My Learning Journey. So the learning journeys are tailored sets of activities that you can access by selecting a profile that best matches your role in this work. So we have a trainer or a technical assistance provider, TA provider, a funder or government partner, lived experience leader, or more sort of general coordinator manager. If none of those options really reflect the role that you play in this work, that's totally cool too. We've also created a curious learner journey. You're like, I just want to explore it all, right? So we have something for that too. For the purposes of today's webinar, I'm going to click on I'm a trainer TA provider so we can take a little look at what the learning journeys look like. Um, Cool. Great. Sometimes it prompts for a brief, foundational questionnaire regarding your existing lived experience partnership efforts. I think it didn't pop up for me because I already had it open today. But it can help you kind of self-evaluate about where you might want to start and start to reflect on where you've been so you can navigate the Grove and, have a better idea of where you're going. Um, for today's purposes, we're going to just go ahead and start the journey. So for each learning journey, you kind of can see what has been prepared for you. There's different steps, they're laid out, and you can take a look at the whole thing before you get started on one piece of it. That's kind of how I like to operate. That's how I like to learn. You have the choice of also completing them in a linear fashion. You could do step one, step two, step three, or you can say, I just want to click around and I want to see what is what calls out to me as the most interesting or what is the most necessary, or hey, I'm in this crisis right now. I need these resources. I'm just going to grab at what looks like is relevant to me. All of that is cool too. So let's practice that now. Although step one is sort of the foundational to this to this learning path. I'm going to skip down to step 5 and we can kind of explore this power sharing activity. So let's get into it. Great. So this step 5, this power sharing activity is an opportunity to kind of visualize power dynamics and relationships within your partnership. There's a few features that are built into this activity and pretty much every activity throughout the learning journeys. One of them is an estimated time it will take to complete. So you see that here, estimated time of 30 minutes to complete. There's also on the bottom right this glowing orange light bulb. If you click on that, it gives you a little overview of what you might need to be prepared to do in order to do this activity. There's also often a supporting document as a part of an activity, which I think is, oh yeah, here it is, great, that you can view. Sometimes it's an external resource. This is a really, really cool resource on power mapping from the Common Social Change Library. We really tried to pull from different places that felt like it was supplemental to the content that we had inside of the learning community. So really, really cool supporting documents that can help you deepen your learning. You can also save your work, save to my learning. That's always an option. You can export your work once you're done, so you have a record of it. And lastly, you can also reset the activity if you want or need to like start over again. Great. So although the journeys are offered as curated learning pathways, you're not limited to the pre-selecting activities. You're always welcome to dig more into power mapping and the other planned activities, or you could just jump into another learning topic by clicking the lived experience grove in the top left corner. I'll say return to my journey, lived experience grove, but save your progress if you want to save it. So I'm going to go back to the main site. I'm going to click on lived experience grove. Oh, great. So as you can see, we're back on the homepage. And so for those who prefer to create their own learning adventure on the Grove, you're like, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to click around. I'm going to see what's up. I'm going to see what's good for me. You can get to all of the learning topics in a couple of different ways. So the first option is you can click on learning topic resources right up here in the top banner. Option 2 is you can click the orange highlighted button titled Enhance My Expertise right here. Boom, 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 boom. And then option 3 is you could scroll to the bottom of the homepage to select a specific learning topic you would like to be navigated to. In this beautiful tree we have in our grove. You're saying we're going through a lot of conflict right now. I need some help in naming it and navigating it. You could go here. You're saying we're having some issues around compensation. You could start there too. Um, Great. So for today, we're going to use option 1 and we're going to click on learning topic resources up here. It's all going to pretty much take you to the same place, this library that has all of the resources in it. So this is the homepage for that library. You'll see the 7 learning topics that the learning community shout out spent a year focused on. Culture shifts that lead to equity, recruitment and intention and retention, naming and navigating conflict, compensations and supports, power sharing, vision design, vision setting and co-design, sustainability and impact metrics. Everything's sort of organized around those headlines. So let's start with naming and navigating conflict. So for each of those, you will get a little overview of what it is that we're talking about in this topic, an overview and kind of a background of why we felt it was important enough for it to be its own category. You'll also get some objectives, right? Like what do we want you to leave this set of activities knowing? Yeah, what do we want you to leave with? And then you'll always see recommendations for where to start. So if you scroll down, you'll see that for this learning topic of naming and navigating conflict, um, there's a bunch of resources and activities. So the first you'll see is an animated video of a discussion on the concept of principled struggle. You will see an interactive quiz that you can take to test your knowledge about all the different types of conflict that show up when you're in a group process. There's a resource offering from the Lived Experience Advisory Board from LASA in Los Angeles. It's an amazing toolkit on navigating conflict. And then there's a few audio clips from the learning community discussions that we held. And all those clips are They're on this kind of values and tools that people have, have direct experience in navigating conflict in their lived experience partnerships. So you can listen directly from people on their experiences and how they got through that. Great. Another thing that I will point out is that under each of the resources, you'll see these little icons. So this green one means you can download the resource. All of this stuff is free and downloadable. These are two cues that you can hit play just to listen or to watch an audio or video resource. And then the little eyeball is to view a PDF version of the resource. So you can engage with it a couple of different ways. In each of the topics too, if you scroll down a little bit further, there's always going to be a couple of things that are sort of related content to this theme of naming, navigating conflict, or any of the other categories. Great. Okay, so let's get an idea of one of these activities. I'm going to scroll us back up. And maybe let's start with the Quizlet on different types of conflict. Maybe we can go through this together and see how we do. So as I mentioned briefly, this interactive quiz is meant to be a fun learning opportunity to test your knowledge about group dynamics and conflict types, different types of conflict. So you can use it as a refresher for yourself. You could do it as a skill building activity with other team members, or you could even use it as a facilitation tool to support bringing clarity to your group dynamic. Um, as I scroll down to begin the activity, you see again the option to download or view a PDF version of the full quiz. Do that here. And then there's always an interactive option for each of the activities. For this one, you'll see here you get a little heads up that there's multiple questions, that there's no time limit, you can do it on your own time, and that you will get instant results when you're finished. So let's get started. Let's do this together. Okay, I'm gonna need you all to engage. I'm gonna need you all to drop some answers in the chat here, okay? So let's see. I think we're doing 4 questions here. So what do we call it when 2 or more members of a group experience a disagreement that causes disruption within the group and or paralyzes? Drop your guesses in the chat now. Is it A, interpersonal conflict, B, intra-group conflict, C, intergroup conflict? You might be Googling the difference between intra and inter. It's a tough quiz. D, power conflict. Any guesses? Let's see. Let me get into the chat and see what people who are saying. Getting some B's. Got one A. Okay, mostly B. Okay, you guys know the difference. Let's see. I think we got enough of a critical mass to go with B. We'll get results at the end. Okay, question 2. What do we call it when the group is unclear about roles? They have a disagreement about their collective or the approach that they wish to take in attempting to reach a goal. I've got a D, power conflict. I'll take it off to not look like I'm endorsing anything. Got 2 Ds so far. Other guesses? Okay. D, a couple more coming in. D. Great. I think that's enough to let's go with power conflict. Okay, third question. I feel like we need Jeopardy music to be playing. What do we call it when there is a disagreement with a non-member or an entity outside of the group who differs on issues, values, and beliefs that impact a decision made or proposed direction related to the group's efforts and goals? A disagreement with an entity outside of the group. C coming in, couple C's, would it be okay? See, it's that intra. Okay. Any other guesses? Where are we at? C or D? Yeah, pick one. Interesting. Okay, I think we got a critical mass for C. All right, last question. What do we call it when there is a disagreement and one entity has more ability to impact resources, decision-making power, access, etc. in the process? D, D, D. Okay. Okay. I think that's enough for us to go to D. So let's finish the quiz. And we'll get some insight on how we did. 50%. Hey. Okay, in full transparency, I took this quiz earlier and I got 50% as well. So I don't know. It's a little tough. If I go to review answers, because okay, so 2 more members, we guess intra, it was interpersonal conflict.
And then question two, when the group is unclear about roles and they have a disagreement about the collective or the approach, um, we into power conflict as intra-group conflict. Okay, well, there you go. Shoot. Um, thanks for getting into that. I mean, honestly, maybe we're gonna talk about a survey at the end of this of when you navigate the Grove, you can give any feedback. If you say, hey, the difference between inter and intra, it's a little tough. You can give us that feedback and we'll incorporate it, okay? Thanks for getting into that with us. That was fun. And you can always have, if you go back to results, you can say, you know what, we need to run it back. Let's start this quiz from the beginning. I learned from my mistakes. We're going to take it again and we're going to get 100%, okay? Um, great. So the activities that we have are created to support reflective learning and prioritize engagement opportunities based on your past or current experiences. So these activities are meant to offer you something in return, like self-awareness, time to think and strategize through needs or tools to support your group's decisions. So we hope that you enjoy them as much as we enjoyed making them. So let's head back to the homepage and we'll review one more feature related to the learning topic resources. Okay, I'm here. Let's see. So we'll go back to lived experience growth that way. So in creating this website, it was really important for us to also source, like kind of what I was saying with the supporting documents, it was really important for us to source existing and available resources that speak to topics that we did not cover in the learning community, or that they go much deeper in a specific topic that we did cover. We're not the first people to be thinking about how to make lived experience partnerships work, right? So it's like we want to gather all of those things, put them in one place and make sure that people have the resources to make this work, to make it fly. So if you're looking to see other tools that we reference in the resources we created, you can find them in the tools library as well, right down here in resources. Great. Okay. If you have found value in these resources, or you want to do more or are looking for support with your lived experience partnership, you're saying, all this stuff is good, but I want to talk it through. I really want to talk it through with somebody. I want to build some community around this. I need a little bit of support in implementing this. There is a little implementation support button down here too that you can click. You can share information about the support or guidance that you're looking for, and you can connect directly with the folks at Housing Justice Collective, and we'll figure something out for you. We all know that this work it's harder than it looks, and it often takes some real guidance and community to make it real, to make it fly. Great. Okay. I'm gonna close the site out, open up our slides. Okay. Present. The Grove is designed to be a living hub that changes over time. We're really hoping that it's a place for deep learning, actionable resources, and some meaningful connection within the lived experience partnership community nationally. I think a big thing that we've heard from people is this work is a lot easier when you are in community with others who are trying to do the same thing. So we also, in addition to this being a library of resources and interactive activities. We also really wanted it to be a catalyst for community building as well. So we encourage you to create an account. You can do that today. I dropped it's livedexperiencegrove.org, dropped it in the chat earlier. We can drop it again. But create an account today. You can dive into a learning journey or a resource topic. And you can also contribute your own expertise to the Gathering Orchard, as Hunter walked us through earlier. We would also really like to hear from you, like I mentioned, from feedback on the Grove. There is so much stuff on this website, because we really wanted to make it comprehensive. And so if you're in some different corners of it and you're like, I think this doesn't exactly work, or I think this should change a little, please totally, totally let us know. And we also just want to generally hear your impressions of the Grove as well. So please fill out the survey if you have a little time, especially after you've clicked through a little bit. We're going to drop it in the chat now if we haven't already, and we will also email it out to all of you after this. So we will use it to continue to improve the Grove. Okay, there's a QR code here for the survey as well that you can open up. Meet us in the Grove, liveexperiencegrove.org. Nikki, Hunter, am I missing anything in closing this out?
I think you've got it.
Yeah, we'll send all of this to you in email too, since you registered for this webinar. And we'll get, hopefully you'll share it with others and we'll connect with you all soon.
Thank you all for joining today. So good to see you. We'll talk soon.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
friends. Enjoy the rest of your day.